Alright, so today we're going to be looking a little bit deeper into solving area problems. Area is just the size of a surface. It's the amount of space inside the boundary of a two-dimensional object or the surface of a solid. And the problems that we're going to be looking at involve both finding the area of an entire shape or maybe finding the area of just a piece of a shape. And we need to be prepared for any kind of problem like that. This is the problem from the assessment that some of us were having a hard time with. The trapezoid shown below has an area of 21 and 66/100 square inches. What is the total area of the shaded sections of the trapezoid? So these shaded sections are clearly right triangles. So there are two ways that I can solve this problem, and I'm going to show you the first way now. So I have two triangles to find the area of. I know that the area formula is area equals 1/2 base times height. And I see that this is my base, so B equals 1 1/10. And I see that my height is perpendicular to my base, so H is going to be 3 8/10. Now I can just plug that into the formula. Area equals 1/2 times the base is 1.1 and the height is 3.8. You can use a calculator, but the multiplication itself really isn't that tricky. I'm just going to do it off to the side here. 3.8 times 1.1. And what I'm going to do is just pretend that these decimals never existed. Okay, now I'm going to multiply 38 times 11. And my trick is to notice that I'm multiplying by 1. So I can just throw 38 down there. Don't actually have to do any operations. I put a 0 for my next step in my ones place and multiply by 10. And now I can add that up. And that's 4. To add the decimal point to my final answer, I need to know how many decimal spaces were in my original two numbers. So I can count 1, 2, and 1, 2. My final answer should have as many decimal places as both of my factors combined. Okay, so let's rewrite this. Area equals 1/2 of 1.1 times 3.8, which is 4 18/100. And now I can just divide 4 18/100 by 2. That's the same thing as multiplying by 1/2. So the area of one of those shapes is 2 9/100. And my unit would be square inches. But before I go ahead and choose that as my answer, I need to remember that there are two sections right here. 2.09 inches squared. And I'm labeling them there so that I remember for later. So if I want my total area, I know that I can just add both of those shaded sections together. And that's 4 18/100 square inches. And that would be my answer. We can also use that total area of 21 and 66/100 square inches to solve this problem. It might be a little bit easier to find the area of the rectangle in the middle than to find the area of two triangles. What if you suddenly forgot the area formula for triangle? I don't know. So I know that my unshaded bit is a rectangle. So my unshaded area equals length times width, just like any other rectangle. And I'm going to look at my rectangle over here. 4.6 inches is my length, and my width is the other one. 3.8 equals width. And they're kind of interchangeable, so as long as you're multiplying them both together, that's okay. So I'm just going to plug them into my formula. A equals 4.6 times 3.8. And I used a calculator to tell myself that that would be 17 48/100 square inches. So now that I have the unshaded area, I can find the shaded area. I know that the total area of the trapezoid is just the combination of the shaded and unshaded areas. So I'm going to fill in what I know and what I don't know and treat it like an algebra equation. I know that the total is 21 and 66/100ths. So I'm going to add the units in later. And that will equal shaded, which, I don't know that yet, plus unshaded, 17 and 48/100ths. And let's treat this like an algebra equation. I'm going to subtract 17 and 48/100ths from both sides. Okay, that cancels out. X equals 4 and 18/100 square inches, and I can just select that as my answer. So I have a very similar problem here. What is the area in square centimeters of the shaded part of the rectangle shown below? So I could notice that that shaded part kind of looks like a trapezoid. So I could split it up into a triangle and a rectangle and find the area that way. Or I could do the same exact thing I did in the last problem. Figure out the total area and subtract the unshaded area to find what's left. So let's fill out what we know. We actually don't really know anything yet, so let's try to figure it out. The total area first. So I'm going to do this really quick. I know that my width is 10 and my length is 14. Width times length is 140. I'm going to add the units in later. And that equals the shaded area, which I don't know yet, plus the unshaded area. And that could be kind of easy because I know that the unshaded area is a triangle, and area equals 1/2 base times height. Area equals 1/2. Base is 10, and I can figure out my height because I know that this whole side is 14, and this little piece is 6. So then the missing part, which I'm going to highlight in green, must be 14 minus 6, which is 8 centimeters. Okay, so times 8. Area equals 1/2 times 10 is 5, times 8 is 40. Put that in my little formula, and I'm going to solve this like an algebra equation. So 140 equals x plus 40. I know I need to subtract 40 from both sides. So 100 equals x, and that cancels out. And now I can select C, or 100, as my answer. Now you have everything you need to know in order to solve shaded part area problems.